Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome to our Leveraging Up show, Oliver Eehn. Is that how you?
Eehn.
Eehn. Oliver Eehn. He's from Optimum Fitness Systems. And today we're going to hear a little bit more about what Oliver does. And I'm going to say this. I got on one of his amazing machines and I was so surprised at what it did for me in just a few minutes. So, Oliver, talk to me a little bit about what you do and why you do it.
Well, as a health and wellness consultant that I've been in business now for like 30 years, and just throughout that time, I've been taking on different roles and like own as well as owning like small health clubs, franchise personal training studio, and just throughout that time, getting the opportunity to work with some amazing folks, and then as well as folks who have been stricken with like chronic diseases. And so therefore, it's like they just needed to like recover from that, regain strength, regain function. And lately, like a lot of my work has just been really focused on injury recovery. And as you, Mamie, got to see for yourself, just one of my inventions that has to deal with like back, having to overcome back pain, because that is the most common pain complaint, the most common disability, or the reason for disability. And so I just kind of had this, just felt the need to just really address that problem. And then just through a proprietary back care recovery program that I use, including the use of what we call the Optimum Back Forge, in order to help forge sturdy, stronger backs in order to prevent back pain, prevent injuries, so people can live the life that they dreamed.
Oliver, 30 years is a long time. 30 years.
It goes fast.
Oh my goodness. So in those 30 years, you've also invented, I don't like to use the word contraptions, but it did look like a contraption, because I'm like, what is this? But the simple exercises that you had us do, priceless. Talk to me about, why do you do that? And what's the passion behind it?
Yeah, well, the invention part, that just kind of more came on a whim, because it's just as I explained how like a lot of my passion is to like help others be able to live life pain injury free, whether it's from injuries or chronic diseases. And so therefore it's like, okay, so, and then just kind of seeing like, particularly with the back, the other exercises that were available out there that of course, when it comes to exercising, over 45 years of working out, I've probably done them all. So I understand just kind of how exercise technique, exercise form, and all that works. And there was just nothing that specifically isolated the erector muscles, the quadratus lumborum, as well, to now be able to what we call the weak link of why like probably a lot of back injuries occur. And so I actually learned this exercise, like 30 years ago, but kind of through just kind of a makeshift strap-in device that you hook up to some stationary device, and then to be able to then do the exercise that way. And I thought, okay, 30 years, somebody's got to come up with some kind of a contraption, if you will, or invention for that, but nobody. So I figured, and I put my brain to work and said, okay, maybe I'll come up with it. And hence we have now the back forge.
Amazing. If you look, not if, when you look back on the patients that you've worked with, are there any stories that you could share with our listeners here about how your inventions have changed their lives?
Well, it's just obviously, as I was putting together my back recovery program, that obviously I had to test it out, and particularly my invention, that is. And so therefore, in that process, what I had to do was just take on some voluntary test subjects, if you will. And I would just say, okay, maybe come on over. You got some back issues? Let's work on that. I would take them through that, and then take them through my exercise that, again, isolates specifically those erector muscles. And it's just like, I was actually surprised with some of the results, and I've actually recorded these testimonials to where now we're able to be able to say it's like, hey, this person, that person, and a couple of my what I call worst case scenarios. Like one gentleman, car accident, just a survivor, and to the point where it's just back pain was just so bad, it just interrupted the sleep. He just could not sleep. To where it was having head issues, like getting vertigo and just dizziness. And after just less than 2 weeks of going through my back care recovery program, he was able to say, it's like, wow, Oliver, this is amazing. It's like I'm sleeping again. It's like the dizziness and the vertigo. I'm still may happen occasionally, but nowhere near as much. And just to hear stories like that, I mean, even again, I was amazed. It's like, I mean, if I was kind of sitting out where you're sitting and heard stories like that, I thought, that kind of seems a little bit too good to be true. It's like, well, yeah, I'm telling it because it's like I'm admitting that, yeah, I might feel the same way, but it's just to hear people that get testimonials like that. It's like, okay, now I know this works. And then others similar to that.
When we are in pain, sometimes we're so stubborn, right? We don't want to go see the doctor, especially my husband. But anyway, what advice would you give to anyone out there that is experiencing pain, so that they could go and get it taken care of?
Well, sadly, so many folks, they just resort to a life of pain, just feeling like there are just no viable solutions available out there. And so therefore, it's like they just sort of relegate themselves to that, not really realizing that there are options out there. And like obviously what I offer is just one of those. And then, but I also educate folks that like a lot of the passive modalities out there, and I got to be careful how I say this, like chiropractic, massage, acupuncture, and prescription medicine. Now I get there's a place for that, and I still actually use some of those myself. So I want to be careful how I say that. But a lot of times it's like people realize that it's like, okay, yeah, it gives temporary relief, but then they have to keep continuing to get treatments, for that. Whereas like, just some of the stories that like I've told, in fact, a couple of stories, maybe I do my job too well because a couple of them, they came to one session. He said, Oliver, my back feels great. They never came back. And I keep up, they're some of them are friends of mine, and I just keep up with them. It's like, hey, Josh, so how's your back doing? It's like, hey, 6 months later, still doing great. So
Funny. That is too funny. It is amazing that you've got such a gentle demeanor, Oliver, and yet there's so much power in what you do and how you treat people. Yes.
oh, sure.
What's the secret sauce that you have that you'd like to share with our viewers to encourage them to
Okay.
say, hey, Oliver, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more here.
Sure. Would I call it any kind of a secret sauce? Well, not really, because I want everyone to know. So I don't want it to be a secret. So therefore, it's like, in fact, in this process, I'm trying to connect now with other physical therapists, chiropractors, those in any kind of a care injury type of industry, to be able to now introduce to my concept to them, as well as just taking individual folks to just say, it's like, hey, Mamie, hey, Johnny, it's like, just know that it's like, look, you can still live a productive life. Just you got to understand like now how to now get over your ailment, your injury, and then let me show you how that can be done. And so some people, yeah, it takes a little more convincing, and I get that. And some will still be stubborn, and then okay, maybe they don't come back, and that's their choice. And I don't get too pushy with them. So, but for those who choose to like give this a try, it's like I can't think of too many instances where this does not work. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. Because a lot of times, you're right. Some of us would rather be in pain than go see someone like you, right? It's just amazing. With all the things that you're doing or you're involved with, what's next for your business, Oliver? What's next?
we'll see. Because it's just like again, as I explained, how over 30 years, like just
Mhm.
worn many different hats, and therefore it's like I'm always open to new ideas.
Mhm.
And maybe more. In fact, I do have at least two more inventions that I'm working on. And so it's just like one at a time there. And as I'm also just like a lot of my latest marketing pushes is more toward like, like the disease population, telling these folks like, hey, through what we call neuromotor training, you can not only slow down the effects of your disease, but even reverse them. And then just to kind of help educate people along that line.
Neuromotor.
Neuromotor training.
Wow. Wow. Oliver, I think we're going to have to have another conversation, because with two other inventions coming up, could you at least tell us what that invention is geared towards at least?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit. So, like one of them is just like a attachment device that is going to be just like a padded device that's going to be used to like help like power lifters, with bench pressing, that kind of like what they call a range limiter, as well as it serves a kind of a trifold purpose, because I originally developed it as a kind of a seated calf raise attachment, and then to try to describe it without showing it to you, it's be quite involved. But then, and then the other one is for carpal tunnel, because that is a very common injury for like a lot of folks, ladies especially, and just kind of now be able to show them some techniques to now be able to recover from that. And then one of the devices is like what I call like a lever bell device, not an original invention, but I'm going to have add my different twist to it. So
I love it, because I've seen your different twists, Oliver. And I'm going to be very interested in the carpal tunnel syndrome, because I got that because of all the computer work that I'm doing. Yes.
Very common.
So I'm going to say this: women out there who I know pounding away at those keyboards, Oliver may be the person we want to connect with. Oliver, our time's coming to a close here, but I want you to know this. Your voice, your story is making an impact. And I am so excited every time I come to conference, because I get to see another one of your inventions or contraptions that you have, and it's amazing. So for now, I'm going to say goodbye. And keep in mind, everyone, we're going to have Oliver back because he's got more to share. So for now, we're going to say goodbye and have a great day.
Thank you. I thought that went well.